All right, everybody. I've got another very special guest for y'all. Returning guest, Mr. Matt Garvey. Welcome, Matt.
Returning? Have I done this before?
Yeah, it was a while ago, but yeah, I had you on before.
When?
I forgot what book
Oh
we
my
were
god,
talking
you're gonna
about.
make me
It's been
you're gonna
so
make me
long, man.
scroll through YouTube to try and find it to see how much hair I've actually lost since then.
Oh, I took a hammer from hell is what we're talking about.
Wow. Oh
Yeah.
blimey, that's been going for a good few years. Ah,
Yeah, and I think it was issue like 2 or 3, so it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Do you know what? That's my new favourite term. It's been a minute. I like that. I don't know why it just rolls off the tongue, and everyone knows what you mean. Like it's been a minute.
Well, so over here in the States, you can't say it's been a while because that song from Stained. Every time you say that, somebody's got to go, it's been a while.
It's been a while. I genuinely love that song. Genuinely love that song still, and I do that as well. So yeah, we need to bring that back. But been a minute, been a while. Yeah, no, yeah, it's been a good couple of years. But it's good to see you, man. I see we've both got a little bit of a salt and pepper going on in the beard, which is always nice.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's been coming in since I was 18, so...
My buddy Totty, who does Big F off Worms, like literally, like his beard is just like gone so grey. It has nothing to do with him becoming a father recently, at all. At all. I don't know about you, but like my beard like tends to be like quite brown, but I kind of get like one or two strands in like the moustache area, and it just looks like I've got like a booger in my beard, in my moustache. It's not good. It's not good. I'm unkept. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack completely.
All good, man. I mean, how have things been on the comic creating front? I know you put out a few books as well on how to kickstart your comics and how to make comics and all that. Like, how's all that been going?
It's been busy. I'm just one of those people that just, if I'm not doing a Kickstarter, I'm kind of going insane. So like I'm at the moment, I'm like literally running a Kickstarter, fulfilling a Kickstarter, launching another one, and everyone seems to like the how to make a comic book, and because we did the Kickstarter version as like a stretch goal, people wanted to get that separately, so we did another one straight after for that. So yeah, and books. I know we've done Hammer Tale 4, Gangsters vs Nazis 3. Oh blimey! And now we're doing Night Movers. Yeah, so it's fun and games. Like I can't rest. It's fun. He says optimistically. My kitchen table is a mess though. My poor wife. It's just boxes of comics, piles of like boards and comic bags and envelopes, and yeah, it's a mess.
I would love to dig deeper into the whole gangsters versus Nazis debacle you had a few years back, man. Like I followed
the
that
debacle.
talking about it.
You're gonna get me sued. Let's chat.
Yeah. How was getting sued and getting a lawyer?
Do you know? It was the strangest scenario. For those who don't know, so like a couple of years ago, I had an idea for a comic. Like literally, like two of my favorite TV programs in the world are Seinfeld. I love that show more than anything, and The Sopranos. And literally, there's like a throwaway line in one of the episodes where like the FBI guy is talking to Tony, and trying to get some information from him. And obviously, Tony being part of the mafia is like, I'm not giving you nothing. And then they start talking about terrorism, which is obviously something you don't really want to chat about. And the FBI agent says, during like the Second World War, we had an understanding. You guys guarded the docks for us, and I didn't know this, and it kind of sent me down a rabbit hole of like, oh, there was a thing called Operation Underworld where like the head of the FBI made a secret pact with like the heads of the 5 families to guard the docks in case of Nazi invasion. I just thought that was a wonderful idea. And then complete sideline, Top Cow had a talent hunt where like you had to write like a story for the Darkness, which is one of like my favorite books. So I wrote a fan script for that competition about like Nazis invading New York to try and capture the Darkness. That's how the whole thing happened. And obviously I didn't win because I'm not that talented, but I liked the idea of doing that story, so I kind of like forged it into like, well, if gangsters are going to guard the docks and Nazis are going to try and invade, what happens? So that's how the book kind of came to life. And then literally we'd done the first one. It went really well. People seem to like it. Andrea's art is amazing. The story is always, with my writing's mediocre. And then, we'd done that, fulfilled it. Then we'd done the second one and we'd fulfilled it. And then out of the blue, I got an email from Kickstarter saying, like, your page has been pulled down due to a copyright infringement. I'm like, but we've kind of fulfilled it, which is really weird. And it kind of gave me the details of a lawyer to reach out to. And, so I sent a couple of messages. I'm like, what's going on? And the lawyer was just very cagey about, whose client was and stuff like this. And there was like a lot of back and forth. And I'm not a lawyer. I have no, idea about like legal procedures. So from my point of view, I was like emailing back with, I don't want to say legal advice, but I'm making shit up to try and find out what's going on. And yeah, it just apparently there was like there's a guy that's wrote a book that's been optioned by another creator. And yeah, they just really had a bee in their bonnet about me having a comic that had a similar name, but completely different. The book and like the story, there's a cat. Hey, was about Jewish gangsters fighting, Nazis in American institutions. Infighting. With regards to, like, fascists. And I'm like, oh, it's got nothing to do with like monsters, like my book's got. And yeah, it was just going back and forth, and like the lawyer was like, my client needs this, my client wants this. I'm like, okay, and I had no idea what was going on. So I got the chap's name, whose lawyer, who hired the lawyer. I just reached out to him and I was like, can we jump on a call and have a chat? And to his credit, to be fair, he was a really nice chap. We spoke about that, and during this time, like, I had registered my trademark here in the UK for the comic and stuff like that. They were registering their trademark in the US, and we just came to understand, look, I'm not going to try and scupper anything you guys are doing. You don't scupper anything that I'm doing. Live and let live, as they said. So we came to an agreement, and the guy turned out to be a really nice chap, and he was trying to get this book into a TV show or a film over there, and they're still trying, and I wish them luck. So yeah, but for like 6 months, it was a pretty scary time of like lawyers getting involved, where I just want to make a comic. That's all I want to do. So that was a really boring story, and I'm sorry about that.
No, cool. I just think it's funny. I never heard of another independent creator like yourself getting involved in something like that, where it really came down to getting lawyers involved.
The only thing similar I've heard of was John McCrane and Jerry Duggan had their comic. It was called Dead Rabbits, and apparently there's a club in New York with a similar name, so they had to change the name of their comic to Dead Eyes. So they recalled, like, I think it was like the 3rd issue of that book, that kind of thing. And that's the only thing that I know of, like, similar. But like from my point of view, like, I don't make any money from my comics. Like, all the money that I make goes back into paying for the art. So it's not like it's a venture where, like, I'm trying to sell the script to Hollywood and stuff like that. I'm just trying to scrape enough to pay the guys to produce it. So it was all joking aside, it was actually quite scary. It made it, like, it really, I'm not someone that suffers with like mental health issues, but like, it made me depressed. Like, it genuinely made like, why am I doing this? Like, all I'm trying to do is tell a silly story about monsters in New York. That's all I wanted to do. So yeah, for like 6 months, it was very, very, like a dark cloud over me. But again, lawyers, like, people get lawyers involved, and it just becomes an absolute mess. And like I said, like, I just reached out to the chap, and like, we had a chat for like an hour. Like, we were just talking about films and TV shows, and like, he was like, oh, I can tell you're just like a good guy, and you're genuinely not going out of your way to try and screw me over. Because why would I do that? Like, I'd never heard of the book. I've never heard of like the project they're doing. I just thought, gangsters versus Nazis was a fun idea. That was it. So that's how it's gone. And touch wood, we seem to be on good terms. Like, nothing's happened since. And again, I hope they genuinely get a chance to make the story that they're trying to tell, because it's a true story. So that'd be amazing to see on screen.
Yeah. And I mean, with that said, you living in the UK, all of your trademarks in the UK, is a lot of your fan base over there, or you see more US fan base?
I'd say like going from like the Kickstarters that I do, it's pretty much 50-50, maybe 60-40 in US side. I'd say I get more from the US because I think you guys are really open to independent comics from other creators, especially on Kickstarter and stuff like that. The problem we've got in the UK is like we have a couple of big comic conventions, but we only have a couple. So like you've got the MCMs that are amazing. They're run by Reed Pop, who obviously do like the New York Comic Con and stuff like that. They're really good shows. They do one in London twice a year. That's really good. They also do it in Birmingham. And then we've got Full Bubble, which is like the Creator Comic Con in the UK. That's up in a place called Harrogate, which is up in Yorkshire. Apart from that, there are little ones that float about, but they're never on the same scale as like your New York's, your Emerald Cities, your San Diego, that kind of thing. So I think that the fan base for comics over there is a lot bigger. But again, the audience that I've got over here, I just bless them. Like they're so supportive, they're so loyal. They generally enjoy the work that I create, and I'm just really grateful for them. To be fair.
Yeah, and I find it interesting because from what little I know about the UK comic sphere, you kind of do it a little different. More, I feel like your books are more American. I mean, am I fair on that?
I think we have a certain way of looking at America, and I think it comes through in our comics. I'm not like bigging up like English creators over Americans at all, but if you look at like the English invasion in like the 80s, we had like the Grant Morrisons, the Alan Moores, the Alan Grants and stuff like that. They were all like UK creators, and they were looking at American comics, and then I'd like to think we brought like a different sensibility to the stories that we're telling. If you look at the spaghetti westerns, the Sergio Cabucci, Sergio Leone kind of westerns that they did, very much westerns, but they were very European style westerns. I think being outside and looking in gives you a different vision of what to do. And I think like with the comic I just did with like called The Skim, which is like a Vegas heist story. It's very different from what a traditional heist story would be, because normally you would go in through the front door, do like the Ocean's 11 kind of cheeky heist, or you would like attack an armored car, that kind of thing, very American guns blazing, this kind of thing. But again, being a massive fan of like gangster films and heist films, it's like, well, if you were really going to do it, like how could you do it? And that's how I kind of come up with like the idea of like how we pull it off in The Skim. So yeah, I think we love and we appreciate American comics. I always have. I've been reading American comics for over 30 years now. I just think we just have a different outlook of how we approach them, and I think that comes through a little bit. And especially with the artists that I use as well, I like to I don't just use American artists. I use American artist collaborators from all around the world, and they all bring their own sensibilities and how they think things should look and stuff like that. So I think that all kind of, you put that in a pot and you get European comics, especially if you've read like stuff like 2000 AD over here, which is just like a take American comics, throw it into like European sensibilities, and you get like a massive punk explosion of comics.
Well, yeah, when I think of UK comics, I think of like 2000 AD, which is more of an anthology, like an ongoing anthology with consistent characters. But you don't just get, it's not like an issue of Spider-Man where it's just Spider-Man. You get 2000 AD and you're getting like 4 or 5 stories in it.
So we don't have many UK publishers. So you've got obviously the 2000 AD, which is obviously the bi-monthly anthology. Like a story split up into chunks. You've got the Judge Dredd's and Rogue Trooper stories, that kind of thing. And then you've got people like Titan, who generally do IPs. So they'll do like stuff like Doctor Who, Freedom Fighter. Occasionally they'll do a franchise of like a film, so like they'll do stuff from like The Raid and stuff like that. But we don't, apart from like the really small niche publishers, we don't really have our own like Image Comics or Dark Horse Comics, or or like the biggers like the Marvel and DCs. It's all it's all you guys really. That's why I think a lot of creators over here, like, we're kind of aiming at the US market, because that's where we kind of want our comics to sit and land with audiences.
Yeah.
Then you got Europe.
Well,
Then you got European comics, which are completely different. They're very different.
yeah. Yeah, because for better or for worse, like the U.S. market's the biggest market in the world. So
yeah, and manga. Like you guys, there's, it's So that I think that's where you'll see like a lot of UK creators. There's a reason why we print our own independent comics in a US comic format. It's because we want them to fit in the bags and balls.
Yep. Yeah. I've actually been really interested recently because the B7 Comics, which I think is another UK comic publisher.
Yes. Yeah. So that's Mark Lemons and Alex DeCampi are doing a Dan Dare comic at the moment on Kickstarter with them. John Freeman, who is a lovely guy, he has a website called Down the Tubes. He's editing it, and if it's got Mark Lemons' name on it, who is just one of the best artists in the world, he is amazing. So if people are listening, definitely check that out. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for it because before this project, had no clue what Dan Dare was. I'm gonna be honest with you, there's zero clue. And
no, most English comic fans have no idea either.
Yeah, and this was kind of pitched as an ultimate universe, absolute universe version of Dan Dare. Like, hey, let's start over, make it, modernize it, and bring it to a new audience. And I started reading about it. I'm like, this is such a cool concept that would fit in the United States. Like, we have these kinds of characters that we grew up with too, that my parents grew up with and everything. And I love that some of these old IPs from your side of the world are getting this treatment now and kind of being reimagined for a modern age, because I compare it to what Mad Cave is doing with Dick Tracy right now. Like, I've become a massive Dick Tracy fan.
Yeah, and the Phantom.
And it just got me to go back and read old Dick Tracy stuff. Like,
the
good, the bad, whatever. I'm just into it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there is a place for these nostalgic reboots. There. I mean, I know Dynamite have done them in the past with the Green Hornet and Masks. With Zorro and stuff. I mean, I've got bless him. I didn't meet him, but I came. I didn't back the Kickstarter because I had no money. But Sean Gordon Murphy did the Zorro Kickstarter the other year, and he came to MCM in October, and I went by his table and picked that up because I was like, if it's a pulp hero, I'm down. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing is yes. I personally would love to do a Phantom comic or a Green Hornet comic myself. And that, I think that's kind of what Gangsters versus Nazis is, kind of like that gangster pulpy style. With the Batman animated series kind of artwork. It speaks to me. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that book, man. The art, like you said, Batman animated series. I also thought of Michael Avon Oeming's kind of style. With how absolutely. When he did powers and all that, and just simple concept, like you said, the gangsters protecting the dock, and then Nazis come and hey, let's throw some monsters in there. Fuck it, it's just a fun book, man.
Oh, bless you. You're very sweet. It's just a fun book to write. It's because again, we were talking before we started recording. New York's my second favorite city. London is my favourite because I'm biased and it's the most beautiful city in the world. But I love New York. It's an amazing city to go visit. I've been a few times now, and you're just just gangsters. I love gangster films. From Goodfellas to Godfather and Casino and King of New York and stuff like that. So gangsters are probably my favourite genre of films and books and stuff. So I just wanted to write something that was just very pulpy, very over the top, very crazy. And like you said, what do? You throw some monsters in, and if you've read the third issue, we go on without spoiling it, there's something bigger coming, So it's crazy stuff. Basically, don't take anything I write seriously is probably the best way to do it.
You also did something really interesting a few years back that I don't think I've seen anyone else do. So I'd love to hear the thought process of it. Okay. It's your 15 comics, 15 number ones, and one massive.
Yeah, well, that was because I've been doing this a long time, dude. I've been 16 years now. I've been writing comics, and if anyone's out there that that makes independent comics, you would love to write an ongoing comic and have a couple of 2 or 3 issues out a year. But when you start making comics, you kind of get to that realization that it's not going to be like that unless you're paying silly amounts of money. it's going to take you like 10 years to get like 10 issues out, because we all work at this in our private times. You know, like I have a full-time job. The artists that I usually work are doing this on the side. You know, I can't afford like Marvel rates is probably the best way to put it. So all the artists that I work for, you know, like they get half of the creator ownership of everything I write, which is great, because I always believe about like sharing that kind of thing. But obviously, again, I'm not paying Marvel rates, you know, so it's like I'm not getting a book done a month. It's probably the best way to do it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm writing so many different titles. Because when I do a Comic-Con, if people come and say, "Oh, have you got issue 4 of Gangsters vs Nazis?" I'll be like, "No, not yet, but I've got, you know, you've bought the first 3, but I've got the skim issue 1, because I've got different comics coming out at different times." So I thought, do you know what? 15 might be a nice way to celebrate my, at that point, 15 years of making comics. And ironically, I'd made 15 issue 1s, because, you know, some had gone on to like issue 2s, 3s, 4s. And I thought, do you know what? Why don't I just collect the first issues? It'd be great for Comic-Con, because people, when they say, like, you know, what comics you write, you can say, well, try them all. There's like 15 different issues. There's comedy, there's action, there's horror, you know, there's everything in there. And I did the Kickstarter, and I cancelled the Kickstarter because I had enough for the print run, but I think at that point I'd done like 4 Kickstarters back to back, and it would have meant a lot of reformatting, relettering, and for a couple of comics like recoloring. And for the amount of work that I was going to put in for the return, it wasn't worth my sanity to do it. It's probably the best way to do it, like the mental fatigue. So I was just like, I don't have it in me to you know, do it, because I'm a one-man band. You know, like, again, I have like the artists that I work with, and that they're amazing, and I appreciate everything they do. I have a colorist on a couple of books, but, you know, I write, I letter, I edit, you know, I color like Gangsters versus Nazis and stuff like that. So, and as well as that, I'm running all the Kickstarters. I'm fulfilling all the Kickstarters. You know, I'm working on projects that 2 or 3 years down the line you will see, but you don't see me working on now. So, like, I'm not just a writer. I'm doing everything. I'm doing the marketing. I've got my website and stuff like that. And up until, you know, a little while ago, I had my YouTube channel, which I was doing, where I was showing people how to make comics. So, and I have a family and a full-time job, and sometimes you're like, do you know what, I've just taken too much on. And 15 was one of those Kickstarters. Was like, it would be lovely to do it, because it would be like a 400-page, you know, chunk of a graphic novel, but shipping it to the US would cost astronomical amounts, and, you know, that affected the number of backers. And it's just like, I just can't do it, so I had to cancel it. But thanks for bringing that up. Cheers, Chris. I appreciate it.
I think that's actually one of the ones I didn't back, because
That's why I cancelled it, because you didn't back it.
Kickstarter. Yeah, that's why. No, but when you say that so everybody out there, all the comic creators listening to this, I know there's a few of you, that's a great idea for your Comic Cons.
Oh, absolutely.
A nice little tray with all your number 1s in it. Like,
yeah,
hey, pick this up for $10-15.
You don't even need to have 15. You know, if you've got 4 different series you're writing, just do it with that. Because, you know, people, like, it's a great way to upsell, because people are like, and it costs less to print a bigger book than it does a single book, in the grand scheme of things, because you can charge more. So it's like, yeah, just have a teaser.
Yeah,
you know, it's great.
With that in mind, have you done any collected editions of your series? Because I know a bunch of them have finished, or at least the initial story has finished on a lot of them. I think of like Big Fuck Off Worms and
so like I've got The Devil in Disguise. That's collected in a 4-issue graphic novel. The Adventures of Cordelia Swift. That's 4 issues collected in a trade. We've just done the 4 issues of Hammer to Hell, which we've collected in a trade as well. And then when Gangsters vs Nazis issue 4 is done, we'll be collecting that trade. So yeah, again, you know, these books have taken like years to, you know, generate. So that's why they don't come along often. And with Hammer to Hell, we did an oversized hardcover for that, which again didn't go as well as I thought. You know, so I've still got, you know, 20 copies here, which was a limited print run, signed them. Yeah. I think in my fault. I think I kickstarted it too closely to the issue 4, so it didn't really give people time to. I've read them. You know, great. Oh, now there's a collected edition. I did it like 3 or 4 months after, and I probably should have waited a year. I think that's one of the keys. Like, if you're going to do a collector's edition, you can't. No offense to Marvel, like you can't do it like a couple of months after. Like, you have to wait, like a year for like there to be a want of it to remind people like, oh, I like that in single issues. I wanted it as a floppy. But the reason why I did it is one, Comic Cons. The amount of people that just love a trade. They don't want it's really weird. Like 60% of the people that come to my table, like they all want the floppies, they'll collect them, and then every now and then, like, what have you got that's collected? And if you've not got anything, like, they only buy graphic novels. It's one of those hard to judge things to decide to do.
Yeah. For you too, over in the UK, are you using a UK based printer for everything?
Yeah, so I've just changed my printer because when I did Gangsters versus Nazis issue 3, my regular printer that I've used for well over a decade, it's just got really sloppy. And I will not badmouth them on air because I'm not that kind of person. But yeah, the quality wasn't good enough, and it's the first Kickstarter where I had to apologise to people, say like I'm delayed because the quality's just not good enough. So I've recently changed to a new printer in the UK that Touchwood's doing a really good job. And ironically, they're a lot cheaper, which also helps.
I was gonna say, the rates over there have to be better than what we're getting over here, based on your pricing.
Well, I priced my comics to move. If you think, when I started doing this, 10, 15 years ago, like my first Comic Con, I was charging £3 a comic, which is about $4 a comic. And now, because obviously inflation, it's been over a decade. It's crept up. So now I charge like £6, which I think is about like $7.20 a comic. But I think the quality's there. I mean, I don't mean like in like the writing, because I'm the writer and I'm shocking. But the art's always good, and the quality of like the paper and the stock that I use, especially when you compare it to even like some of the big publishers. Like I bought, what did I buy? I bought a comic from the big two, and I'm not going to name it. And like the paper quality was just like, ooh, it wasn't newsprint, but it wasn't far off. And I was just like, you're charging like $6 a book for this, and I'm like, obviously I know like you're there to make money, but I was like, oh dear me, yeah, no. So I try and use like the best paper stocks, because if you see my comic on a shelf in a comic shop, whether it be in the UK or wherever, I want you to like pick it up freely and go like, this feels like a premium item. So it may be like a $1 more than you may pay for like a Marvel or DC or an Image book, but you can feel the quality. So that's how my mentality thinks. Now I could go cheap. I could go a lot cheaper and make an extra, $1.20 on like, a comic, that kind of thing. But it's like, it's not worth it. I just want people, especially when they're back in Kickstarters, I want them to feel like, they're paying for the book, they're paying for like extortionate prices for the postage. I want them to have something to go, yeah, I'm happy with that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I'm actually always impressed, because I always hear from creators in the States that it's so difficult shipping outside of the States, price-wise.
Yeah.
Especially to places like Australia. But I hear over in Europe it's not great, too. But it seems like you trying to come over here is like the exact opposite.
No, it costs a lot. Like, it's gone up a lot since, people have come to power and tariffs have come in, should we say. It costs a lot more to ship to you guys than it used to. And that has affected, the growth of, independent comics. Like, I was talking to, like, we was talking about, obviously, Dan Dare earlier. Like, I was talking to, like, I was fortunate to be next to Mark. I mean, I've known Mark for a number of years, but I was next to Mark Lamin at MCM in October of last year. Like, so I was 3 days with him, and we were just talking, and, like, bless him, he was like, I can't believe you're not, like, working for a publisher. I'm like, yeah. But from my point of view, like, it would be lovely to work for a publisher. I'm not going to say it wouldn't be, but the main reason I want to work for like an Image or like a Dark Horse and that kind of thing is just for distribution. Like, it really is, because if I can get someone out in the States to print and distribute my books and send them out to people, like, it would save a fortune for the people that are supporting it. And it just make life a lot easier. I'm not one of those writers who's got delusions of grandeur that this is a gateway into something else. I'm not like, I want to write a TV series or I want to write a film. Like, if the opportunity came to write something, absolutely, I'm a writer. I'd love to write, but for me, like, the comics are enough. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so like working for a publisher would be lovely, but it's only because I want someone else to deal with like shipping to comic shops, because that's where I want to be, because that's where I'm going to grow my readership. And what you'll find is like creators that break in and make it big. They'll start on like a Mad Cave or an Image book, then they'll end up working for Marvel and stuff like that. Then they go back to independent books because their audience follows them over, and then that's where they not so much make their money, but that's where they build their living, and that's that's the goal. So it's really weird. Like everyone wants to work for a publisher to go back to doing what they really want to do. So I always find that really, really weird. It's like very circular.
Yeah. I mean, that's the model, because you sell way more Marvel DC books than you will an Image book. Unfortunately or fortunately, whatever your perspective is there. But yeah, you hope to carry like a certain percentage of them over. I mean, I talk about ad nauseum, but that's the Brubaker Phillips model. They left Marvel and now they make these books that nobody else is making, and they make a living off of them. And I'm happy they do. So.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good. I genuinely enjoy their books, And Sean's son, Jacob, he's an amazing artist as well. I've just read his Texas Blood Money. Like, I'm a bit late to the party. That was really good as well. So if you like, his dad's artwork, you'll like him. And is it Chris Condon? I think the writer.
Yeah, I just got the first volume. It's sitting next to my bed right now. I really want to read
it's
that.
Good. And Chris, I just read Chris's News from the Fallout. That's an interesting book. That's kind of cool. If it's got a strange art style. It's very like, once you see it, you're like, oh, this is unusual, but it works totally for that series. So I do read comics as well. I don't just make them.
What are you more of a kind of a non-Big Two reader, or what's kind of your reading style?
I will absolutely read everything. I've literally got like 4 copies of Daredevil issue 1 because I bought blind bags. Actually, no, I've probably got more because I bought. So funny story. Like last week, I went into like a comic shop that's near my office at work. I was looking for the blind bags. They had no blind bags, so I bought. What did I buy? I bought the Alex Malay variant. I bought the regular edition because I like Lee's art. And did I buy that? I bought 2 copies of that. I bought 2 copies of Bizarro because I got Nick Pitara's foil cover. And I got Frank Quitely's variant cover, and I got a copy of like DC's Mad magazine. And then as I was leaving the comic shop, because it's on multiple floors, as I was leaving, I saw the blind bags behind the big counter, not near the comic section. So I ended up buying 2 blind bags of Daredevil issue 1 because Daredevil is my favourite character, as you can probably see behind me there. Same. So I bought 2 copies, and I bought 2 blind bags. And then what I forgot that I'd done is when I knew about the blind bags, I pre-ordered 2 blind bags from an online comic seller that I know. So I had 2 more blind bags arrived yesterday when I got home from being out with the family. So for the new Daredevil issue 1, I've got 6 copies. So yeah, no, I very much buy Marvel and DC. I've got like literally in arm's reach. Speaking of variants, like I've got 2 copies of Lobo right there. I also have a foil variant of Lobo in a bag behind me that I need to sort out. But no, I always like the big 2. I think they make some good stuff. Never really been like a Spider-Man or an X-Men fan. I don't mind them. It's just never like gravitated to me. I've always liked the street level heroes like the Daredevils and stuff like that. Lobo I love because it's very much, obviously a lot of it's been written by British guys, so it has that kind of 2000 AD sensitivity of outrageousness, especially if you read like the Alan Grant stuff back in the day. But I enjoy a lot of Image books and Mad Cave books as well. So as I said, I've just read Texas Blood Money, News from the Fallout. I've been reading Exquisite Corpses by James Tinian and Michael Walsh. What else have I read recently? I know I'm late to the party, but I've started reading Ice Cream Man from Image as well. So yeah, like I'll read anything as long as it's good.
Yeah.
As long as the stories are good, like I will read it. Been reading some Ghost Machine stuff. Been catching up on Redcoat. Never because I like Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run, so I started reading that. I was reading one of his other Ghost Machine books, which names escaped me. The man. No, it was Giga. So I started reading Giga the other night. I think Rook. I've only read like the teaser part. You know, they did like an issue 0 where it had like a little bit. So I haven't really kind of delved into that because I thought they were interconnected, but they're not. Or am I getting that wrong from what I've read?
It's
because there's a timeline in the back of the comic. There's a timeline in the back of the comic of like where they're set, but then like one's in space and like so like I'm like,
Rook
do I have to read this in order?
Anything.
Right, okay.
But Geiger and Redcoat are connected.
They are right. Okay.
Yeah, because you'll get to a point in Geiger where a character from Redcoat jumps into Geiger's world.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, and then they're doing a First Ghost where it's a ghost in the White House, and that's in that world too.
Right. Okay.
So
because like I was very confused. I'm like, oh, because Jeff Jones is very good at writing events. With Blackest Night is probably one of the best events in the last like 20 years. I love that, and you know, like you kind of like, but you're reading like between like Blackest Night and Green Lantern and a couple other books, and you're like, oh shit, I've jumped ahead. I need to go back. So I was very like when I'm reading like Redcoat, I'm like, oh, do I need to like read this issue? So I think I've read like the first 6 or 7 Redcoats, and like, okay, so I've read like the first 2 issues of Giga. Do I need to read Hyde Street? Do I need to read like the Rockefellers? I'm not sure in what order I kind of need to read them, if at all.
And then the Rockefellers and the other book are their own universe too,
Right.
and so is Hyde Street. So yeah, I think all of them kind of stand on their own for the most part. We'll see how long that lasts.
But they need to make it clear.
Yeah,
they need to.
I
Like, I'm confused. Like I'm like a 35-year-old veteran of reading comics. Like you put a timeline in the back of the one of the comics, it kind of throws like your equilibrium off. Or like, ooh, you know, because like you know, you read like again going back to like Blackest Night, even like the Marvel like the things. They'll give you like a chronological order of what to read stuff in. They'll give you a timeline. Would help. Just saying.
yeah.
No hate.
What I love about Redcoat is it's funny that it's a Redcoat, a British character as the lead, but they're creating this like mythology behind Americana that is so much fun.
Being brutally honest, I love Jeff Johns' work. Like I think he's an amazing writer. He's one of my. I'm not enjoying Redcoat.
Okay.
I think if you're American, you will enjoy it more. I mean, I know some English fans that enjoy it. I think you will enjoy it more being an American because you know, like, you know, the British are coming and you know, like, the characters, you know, the fictionalization versions of historical characters, you know, of Benedict Arnold and stuff like that. We don't get taught that stuff in the UK. So it kind of, like, apologies, there was a character in it that was planting apple seeds. And I'm like, okay, you know, and that's very much part of your mythology of, you know, your country and stuff like that. So for me, I'm like, meh. And, you know, it's a good book, you know, and the art's amazing. But, yeah, it's probably not my favourite of Jeff Johns' work that I've read, but I will persevere because I just want to support his work.
I can understand that completely because all the characters that pop up, whether it's Benedict Arnold, Johnny Appleseed, Annie Oakley shows up later on. These are all characters we got stories of as kids through our history, through our schooling and everything. And
I only know them if they're in a Simpsons episode. You know, like one of the episodes where like the Simpsons all fall asleep in church, or you know they're sitting in a train car and they're talking about Paul Revere or some the guy with a blue ox or whatever it is. You know, like in England we don't know any of that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be the equivalent of us doing like a Robin Hood story. You know, where we're like talking about like, which obviously I know like we've like films of these characters and stuff like, but like if we had like Robin Hood and Rob Roy and Last of the Mohicans and all these kind of characters all kind of intertwined in one, yeah, it just for an English person like, well, a better version of Redcoat for me, and this is just me, is Manhattan Projects, which I love, with Jonathan Hickman, Nick Patara. You know, I get that because the characters I know, the fictional real life characters I know, like Einstein and stuff like that. So and Oppenheimer. So yeah, that I'm kind of getting those kind of vibes, but like less funny. It's probably the best way to do it. But no, it's good. Like it's good. It's just not my favorite Jeff Johns work.
I think Rook of the new Ghost Machine stuff is like probably my favorite of what he's doing right now.
Haven't read
I'm
that
also
one
a
yet.
big sci-fi fan, so
I say I'm not a sci-fi fan, but I do write a lot of sci-fi, which is really weird. Like, I'm trying to think of like the best sci-fi book I read in recent years. Like, I go back to like East of West a lot because I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I do like a good sci-fi story. But like, going back to what you said, I'll read anything. If you tell me it's good, like it doesn't matter what it's about. If it's written well, I'll read it. If the art's good, I'll read it. Yeah, but yeah, has to be.
You know what's been huge for me is they've been making those like soft cover compendiums or omnibuses that are like anywhere from 30 to 50 issues of a comic in a soft cover edition, and they sell them for like 30-40 bucks. So they're cheap. It's a lot of comics and all that. Dude, they just did one for East of West, and I just sat there. I'm like, I have all these, but 45 issues in one book, man.
Do you know what? I very rarely buy trades anymore, like physically, because I just don't have the room. Like above me, like if I'm suddenly caved in, it's because I've got like 30 long boxes in my attic above me. You know, there is no room for like. So I buy my floppies still because I love my floppies, but a lot of the stuff I buy digitally just because of space, and I get to read it in bed. You know, without a light on, I can watch it, read it on my tablet, that kind of thing. So I really enjoy that. But yeah, like I think. In another life, compendiums would be amazing. Like, there's a big Lobo one that I want, you know, and I've got a few, absolute editions over there behind me, and like artist editions. Like, yeah, they're great, but like, there's only so much space you can have in one house.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's hard, dude.
I keep saying when I get a new house, me and the missus are talking about buying a house. I'm like, I want one of those old school dens where I build the shelves into the wall.
That's the dream.
So I can just put all the trades and compendiums up.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Like, I'm literally running like that whole shelf behind me that you can't see all, but like it's probably 5.5 feet, and the majority of that slabs. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because I'm like, I need to stop buying them, and I can't have them out because they'll fade. But like, I'm just like, yeah. It's not good. It's not good. Like, we're collectors, we're hoarders. Again, that's why I've got like 6 copies of Daredevil issue 1, because I see a blind bag. I'm like, ooh, like 2 came yesterday, and I'm saying to my wife, like, being honest, I've already got 2, and I've opened them. Do I open these 2? And she's looking at me like, why would you not open them? Like, they cost me £5, but like they're selling for 15 on eBay now. Do I keep them in the bags? But of course I open them because I want to see what variants I got, if I got any variants. And we're geeks, we're collectors. We're screwed. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a good time. So you said you have like a comic shop near where you work. How is kind of the local comic shop scene over there? Do you have a bunch around you, or?
So where I am, where I live, I don't have a local comic shop. Okay. And I'm ironically, about 2 years ago, like me and my wife were driving through we live in a little village outside of London. I say little village, it's small. It's a small little town. And I was like, this place would be perfect if we had our own comic shop. And she's like, oh, you'd love that, wouldn't you? I was like, yeah. And then one opened 3 weeks later, without me knowing. A comic shop opened like a 10-minute walk from me, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I walked in there, and he was like, yeah, I don't sell new comics, I'm only doing old stuff. And I'm like, just because like you didn't want the hassle of having to like do like at that time like Diamond, whoever it is, or Penguin Random House. So he literally just sold like back issues. I'm like, I can deal with that. And you could see me going for like the Daredevil stuff. I bought a couple of, because new local shop, I'm going to support him. Bought a couple of Daredevils off the back wall. Went through the long boxes and stuff like that. And he went, "Oh, you like Daredevil?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I've just bought a complete issue. I'll make sure to bring him in." I went in there twice more over like a 3-month period. Didn't even bother bringing him in. I'm like, so you've got a new customer that likes something, and you have not brought them in. And the 2 times I went in there, he was watching TV. And I'm like, okay. And he closed not long after. So that just shows you, where I used to live in my old town, I had a couple of comic shops within like half an hour to an hour away. My first comic shop is still there. It's lovely. But I moved away from there. And I was going to another comic shop, which I don't speak nasty of, but it was very elitist in there. which I found very, very strange as like a teen. So I go to there's one in New York. So we have a chain in the UK called Forbidden Planet. There's one literally near my office, so get the chance, I go in there. There is another one in London. There was a couple of really good ones in London. One called Orbital that unfortunately closed a few years back. There's another one that I don't really care for because they sell small press comics, like indie comics. And I remember once I went in there with one of my hardcovers, like years ago, and it was like a Tuesday morning, no one in there. And I just went in there and said to the guy, "Oh, picture this, right? You go into a shop, empty. There's one guy standing behind the counter, staring into space. And I've walked in there on a wet Tuesday morning with no one in there. And I said, excuse me, you sell small press independent comics?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Is the person here that I can speak to about them? Because I've got some of my comics." And I reached into my bag to pull out this lovely, and it was a lovely hardcover that I produced, like quality premium product. And he literally went, "It's me, but I don't have time to look at anything." And when you look around, you are literally staring off into space.
Yeah.
So that's another comic. So I don't tend to go into that one just because they treated me like that. But I think up and down the country there are some lovely comic shops. I wish I lived closer. There's a place called St Albans, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me. A place called Chaos City. They are just the nicest comic shop in the world. Marina, who owns it, is just amazing. Upstairs they've got new comics in trade. Downstairs in the basement they've got long boxes. That's amazing. Up in Harrogate, where they do the Thought Bubble Festival, there's Destination Venus, run by a guy called Reggie that supported my stuff. Just lovely. There are some genuine lovely comic shops, proper local people that love their customers. But yeah, there are a couple of crappy ones as well.
It sounds like the same thing we deal with. We have a lot of amazing ones, but we always end up thinking about the ones that remind us of the comic book guy from Simpsons. So we got a lot of those too.
I think if I ever won the lottery, I'd love to open my own comic shop. Just do it properly and just make it just so friendly and welcoming for people. Because I think we know we're lifers for comics. People come into your store, you treat them kindly, you treat them nice, you have a chat and stuff they'll keep coming. It's not rocket science, you build a loyal fan base. It's not hard. We all know what bad customer service is. We know what good customer service is. Again, it's not difficult, is it? But yeah, so I'd say that I'm in between comic shops is probably the best way to do it. The one I go to is a chain store. It's massive, but the comics is probably not their best-selling items, should we say. So it probably doesn't get as much love as it should.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of toys, a lot of books and stuff like that, a lot of Pokemon and Funkos, which is fine. That's where they make money. But it's very much a London store, so you get a lot of tourists. And the comic section has just got smaller and smaller over the years.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, I hear a lot from retailers over here that it's the comics kind of pay the rent, and everything else is the cake on top that helps you eat at night.
I love a good comic shop though. A good comic shop's worth its weight in gold. I miss going to comic shops and just going, long boxing, just looking for issues, because that's what the kids don't realize now. You couldn't just go onto eBay and buy an issue that you were missing. You had to find that shit. It sometimes took you years to find out how a story ends. Whereas now, and it's great. I've done it before. You want to read a comic and you're like, I can just buy it instantly and find out. Yeah. That's amazing. But just going through long boxes and stuff like that, it's fun. It is fun.
I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago about how when we were younger, just the hunt, whether it was comics, there was a few times it was toys, but the hunt to get the whole collection. Those are some of the best times we had.
Yeah, we used to be there used to be 5 or 6 really good comic shops in London, and we used to go up there and you'd go from one to the other to look for books, and you'd be like, let's go back to the other one because we want this. It's just so much fun. The hunt is it's just all part of the process. Everything's too easy now. Instant gratification. That's what we live in.
And you couldn't look up the inventory, so you hear like, oh, that shop down the other side of town, or 2 towns over. I heard they got that copy of Daredevil you're looking for. Well, let's go. And you drive for an hour there just to find out it's not there, but you buy something else. You drive an hour back home, and then 2 weeks later, you just stumble across that issue, and it's like, it's the best feeling.
What annoys me? What annoys me is like you want to pick up an old comic that you want, and we know how much a comic's worth, and then you'll go online, you'll go like to an auction site or whatever, and you'll see that comic online, and like someone's selling it for like a crazy price. Like, do you know what you have? Like, it's not worth that. Like who's buying this shit at that price? It's crazy. Oh, you've got the first issue of the White Vision. Wow, you're selling it for £30. Like, I get it. It's a key, but it's a £10 book, if that. It's like some people are just out of their minds of what they think stuff's worth. But at the same time, I'm terrible for it because I'll be scrolling through eBay at night because like sometimes you just get an absolute bargain of a book. And I remember I bought even though I already had it, I bought a second series of Daredevil. Like someone was selling like issues, I think it was like 1 to 12. So like the Kevin Smith run, and then obviously like the Echo first appearance. But they'd taken out the first cover appearance of Echo, which I think was issue 12 or something like that, but she first appeared in issue 11. So they took the cover appearance out, but left the first appearance in, and I got it for literally like 30 cents a book. So like it was like a bargain but they actually took out the wrong one, the valuable one, and you're like, okay, so yeah. I'm terrible for stuff like that. I'll try and find a bargain wherever I can.
My favorite, our local shop is owned by a friend of mine, and I'll just sit in there and we'll chit chat bullshit all the time. And I see people come in and they're like, well, I've got these. I looked it up on eBay. It's going for this, and you can see like the deflation in his eyes every time. It's like, just because someone put it up on eBay for that doesn't mean it's worth that. He goes,
just because someone's selling it for that, doesn't mean they're going to buy it for that. There's but the thing is, everyone copies it, and you're like, no,
nobody understands sell through. Sell through is what matters, not what you post it for.
Well, I have a box. I've got a plastic long box that I've got a sticker on that says money box. So like all the keys and all the stuff that's worth like $30-$40 a comic, I put in there. So if I die unexpectedly, my wife and child know these are the ones that are valuable. So this is going to pay for the funeral, So and I explain all the other ones, you're going to be able to like sell them for like 20 cents on the dollar or whatever it is, like a fraction of the price that I paid for. But like these are the ones like first issue of Preacher, first appearance of Deadpool, my Frank Miller signed Dark Knight Returns, like the ones that are worth a little bit of extra, they're the ones that you don't, give away is probably the best way to do it. Yeah, but yeah. People are bonkers of how much they think comics are worth. And Comic Cons are the worst over here. I really wanted to get a slab copy of the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill in Thor. And literally it was like $300. And then by the end of the Comic Con, it had gone down to like $80. It's like, did you really think you were going to sell it for like $300? It's like, yeah, good luck to you. Like, it's not even a big character in like the movies and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes people have no idea what they have, or had. Well,
it's crazy what speculators do too. Because like you, I buy a lot of books, so I try a lot of things out. And do you remember that Batman issue where his had the outline of his dick?
Dong, Batman damned. I've got 2 copies of that, and so that's only.
I bought that issue off the rack. I'm like, oh, let's try it. It's a new Batman book. Like, I like Batman. Let's try it out. Didn't really care for it. So I went online and I was like, holy shit, people are spending like $100 on this issue. Sell through. Fuck it. I threw it up there for $80. Sold it within the hour for $80. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, people.
All because of a shadow of a penis. Ironically, I have 2 copies. Like the weird thing is, I have 2 copies of that. Again, saying because I'm a pain in the ass. Like I will order copies online from comic shops. Forget that I've ordered it, and if I'm traveling for work, if there's a comic shop there, I'll pop in. And I was in a place called Nottingham, which is up in the north, and there was a Forbidden Planet. And I went and I picked up the Jim Lee variant. I thought, oh, cool, I got the Jim Lee variant. I got it. And then literally when I got home, the other one had arrived. And literally like that night on then Twitter was just going crazy. Like you were saying, like it's going for like $100 a couple. I'm like, I'm just keeping them. I've got no intention of like flipping them and stuff like that. It's just like, oh god. And ironically, I was at an MCM, and literally they used to have us really tightly packed in. They've changed now since Reed Pop took over, which is amazing. But like literally sitting behind me, I had Brian Azzarello. Like just like a paper thin like banner between us, and I was talking to the lady that was helping him out, and I was like, oh yeah, I really enjoy like his books and stuff like that. And he was charging like a silly amount of money for, like, to sign Batman Damned because of like the Wang situation. Yeah. I went, oh, I've got that, and she went, I'll get him to sign it for you if you want, like no charges. Like, I don't really do signatures, and she was like, oh, okay. I was just like, for me, it's. Yeah, actually, it's not my thing, you know. Like every now and then, I will pick up a signed book by some. Like I would say, I've got a slab, you know, Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, which I love because it's a very, you know, important book, as you know, any Batman fan would know. But normally, I'm like signatures. Yeah, I'm not fussed. Sorry.
I'm not big on that either. But when I'm at a con and they usually offer on the spot, like, "Want me to sign it?" I'm just like, "Yeah, go ahead," because I feel I feel mean to be like, "No, don't sign it."
Well, I always, whenever I sell comics at a Comic Con, I always say, "Oh, do you want me to sign them?" And you get a couple of different types of people. When I go, "Oh no, how much is it?" I'm like, "No, I'm signing them for free." Every now and then, I'll get someone that goes, "No," and you're like, "Oh, okay." And the weird thing is, like, I did a Kickstarter recently for the Skim, and I always sign the books just out of courtesy, because, you know, I never get. It really winds me up when people charge extra for signatures on Kickstarter, because we're nobodies. Like, no, not in a self-deprecating kind of way, but we're not like big names. Mm-hmm. So for me, sitting down for a couple of hours and signing, you know, a couple of hundred comics, it's the only cost is time to me, and it shows a little bit of gratitude to the supporters. And I sent copies of the Skim to someone that backed it. And then he even says when you back it, it's like it's a signed copy by me, you know, so you don't have to send in a request to ask for it. Because worst thing is like not to get one, then go, oh, I thought it was going to be signed, and I got a message saying I didn't want mine signed. I was like, dude, like back the next issue, I'll send you an unsigned one. It's fine. He goes, I don't mind signatures, I just don't like them on the cover. Okay, can I send this one back? I'm like, dude, you're in the States. So it's going to cost you like $12 just to send me the comic back. Like, why don't you just keep it and I'll make it up. You back the next one, I'll send you issue 1 again unsigned with an issue 2 unsigned. And he's like, oh, that's so nice. I'm like, that's fine. It happens rarely, but it does happen.
Yeah, that's an old thing from, like, I think from novel signatures. Like, they would sign it on the inside, like next to where they says written by Matt Garvey or whatever. I never understood that, but you see a lot with old comics.
Do you know what? I think we're collectors. We're very particular. Sometimes we like stuff a certain way. Is probably the best way to describe it. But you know, but how I always treat my supporters on Kickstarter is like, if they're unhappy, just swap it out. You know, I've had a couple of people say, "Oh, it's damaged," and the guy, I can send you photos. I'm like, dude, it's fine. You would not be messaging me if it had arrived in good condition and you're trying to just milk me for another one. It's like, I'll just send you a new one, and I'll pay for postage. I'm like, dude, it's fine. It's part of the process. You know, like, don't worry about it. And it just builds loyalty. It shows people that I'm not an arsehole. Like, it's like, I value you, so it's fine. You know, it does cost me money, but what I gain, because you'll end up back in the next 5 Kickstarters, it's kind of it's negatable, so it's fine.
Yeah, and no offense to you or anyone else, but that'd be a terrible scam.
Yeah. Well, no, the worst scam is like going back to eBay. Is like I see people like selling my comics for like inflated prices. I'm like £15 for like a signed copy of whatever. I'm like, dude, you can get it for me for $6. It's fine. Dude, it's no one's buying secondhand Matt Garvey comics. Sorry, that's not me being self-deprecating. It's like no one wants a used copy of Gangsters vs Nazis signed by me. It's fine. Bless them. They're trying.
Yeah, you ever tempted to comment under those? Be like, listen, I got brand new ones.
Well, funny story. Like years ago, talking about like comic shops. I've done loads of things to try and get my name out there. So one of the comics I did about 10 years ago was a comic called Transfer, and at the time, Diamond Comics were obviously around, and I had a portfolio review with a guy from Diamond about how to like get my comics into previews and stuff like that. And a really nice guy, like, and he said like, Matt, obviously can't really do much because how it worked at that time was like you can get your comic in the UK side of previews. To get into the US side, you know, if you haven't got a publisher, it has to go to a committee. It's a ball ache, you know. It's more work than it's fair. Like, just gave me some really genuine advice. But in MCM, every year they'll do like a summit where they'll get like publishers come over and all the comic store owners get to meet them, and they'll go for like what they're coming out in the next like year and stuff like that. They can comic shops can rip them apart of like, you know, how many variants have I got to buy to get this exclusive and stuff like that. And this guy called Andy was like, Matt, why don't you come? I can't guarantee you'll meet anyone, but like you'll meet all the store owners, and you might meet some people from DC and stuff like that. And Dan DiDio was there at the time, who was really nice. A couple of guys from Valiant and stuff like that. And I thought, right, I've got a forum here. Like I'm going to be in a room with like all these. So what I did is for my comic Transfer, I printed a very special edition, which was like a Diamond comic exclusive to give away to all the comic store owners. And I had all my details in, all my personal details. Saying, look, if you like this book, like order it, or you know, like stock my other comics. A couple of the comic shop owners decided to put these on eBay with all my personal details, and I was like, it even says not for resale, that kind of thing. And so I bought some of them back from them, and just sent a message like, "Yeah, dude, you wasn't like give it away or whatever, but like you know, it's got my details in it. So yeah, shitty move, dude." And a few of them like, "Yeah, don't like me now for that," because I'm like, I was trying to do something nice.
Yeah.
Again, I know it's trying to get my name out there, but like it's a freebie. You know, it's got, you know, personal sensitive data, and you thought you could stick it on eBay for like a tenner, like $10. You're like, shitty move, dude.
Yeah, you see that a lot, like Comics Pro around in the States. All the publishers get with all the retailers, and they hand out all these like exclusive covers and everything. Then they end up on eBay the next day for $50.
I was just trying to do something nice. Yeah, I was just trying to do something nice to introduce myself to comic shops, introduce myself to publishers of like, you know, this is what you got, and then but a couple of them refunded me the money after they bought them back because I sent them a message saying, yeah, that's mine, thanks, bought it back. Comic by Matt Garvey, bought by Matt Garvey. Ooh, yeah. It's only happened a couple of times, but yeah, it's always comics is fun. Comics is fun.
You said you've pitched to a few publishers in the past. Have you ever thought about doing something like teaming up with Massive Indies or Piranha, or if there's a UK version of that, and kind of doing it yourself but with help to get in the shops? Not
really. It's one of those things where like I'm kind of happy doing what I'm doing, and you know, it's like that meme from like the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, where like Willem Dafoe's like, "You want to do it on your own." I respect that. So it's kind of like, yeah, just like, don't get me wrong. Like I'm very fortunate. I know lots of professionals, like from the UK, and they're all like, "Oh, you should be pitching." Like, yeah, I do, but like the publishers don't want to know. So regardless of working with like massive industries, like people know who I am. So if they were going to hire me, they would pretty much hire me. Like I'd like to think I'm not an arsehole. Do you know what I mean? Like I try and be supportive. I try and help people out. You know, I try and be a positive force in the comic making community. You know, I've got a body of work. You know, like if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen because of something I've done. If that makes sense. So it's like, you know, am I a journeyman? Maybe. You know, I just want to tell the stories that I want to tell, and I'll do them whatever way I can. So having to team up with someone to try and get my foot in the door where I can just as easily, you know, send my books to an editor to get their attention, you know, it's why work with someone else when you can do it yourself? You know, there's no easy way in.
Yeah, and fair enough. I mean, everybody's doing so much in this industry especially on the indie side. Like you said, you work a full-time job, you're creating these books, you're doing the Kickstarters, and you got a family. And I get it. I'm just always curious where people want to push their independent career.
I mean,
all that.
Think about it this way, right? I mean, I'm not sure what they are now, but from what I've heard, you know, the going rate for a writer, like first out the gate, is probably around, you know, $100 to $120 a page to write a book. So that, from what I've been told, I don't know if that's probably a couple of years old. I don't know if that's still the case. The average, you know, Marvel and DC comic is 20 pages. So let's say it's $100, right? So that's $2,000 a month to do that before tax. Take the tax off it, and that's in US dollars. So that's not even in pounds. So it's even less. Like, so if I was writing one book a month for Marvel, that's not going to pay for my mortgage. It's not going to pay for my family. I'd need to write like 5 or 6 books a month to cover my bills. So it's like, it's 6 of one and half a dozen the other. It's like, would I love to work for Marvel and DC? Absolutely. If my old boss at my old job used to joke, "Oh, you're going to work for Marvel?" I'm like, no, I couldn't afford to. like not in a horrible way, you know. Like it'd be an honor, it'd be a privilege, but you know that's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna cut it. Isn't it? Like, I just bought my daughter a pair of shoes yesterday. They cost more than mine, and she's only 6. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like $50 for a pair of shoes. It's crazy, but yeah, it's. You say it'd be an honor, it'd be a privilege, but it wouldn't be, the reason why I want to do it. If I wanted to do it, it's because, you know, the money I'd make would go back into making my own comics, pay artists to work with me, because that's all I want to do. Like, I'd love to write, you know, like a Dead Man or a Daredevil or a Mr. Miracle or a Lobo or whatever, but I like telling my own stories.
Yeah. No, I respect that. We talk a lot.
Oh, don't respect me. Don't respect me.
I talk a lot with people who, I mean, obviously there's a business side to this, and I respect everybody who's doing the business too, but I like that idea. You know, you're just never going to get rich off this. None of us are. No. So as long as we're loving what we're doing, just keep doing it.
I do it because I love it. I do it because I get to work with some incredibly talented people. I get to, I love helping people out, like make their own comics stuff like. But I'm a selfish prick. Like I write the comics that I want to read. Like I'm selfish, and you know, people can like them or not. You know, if they like them, brilliant. If they don't like them, I don't care. I'm still going to make them. You know, it's like
I've always had the mentality of when I'm creating something, whether it's a podcast or whatever, I'm trying to create something that I want out there. Because if I want it out there, there's got to be at least one other person who does.
And that's
right.
And that's exactly it. Like, you know, and I've said to people like they'll try and chase the fads, and they'll try and chase like what's exciting. You know, what's doing really well in, like, you know, Hollywood. Let's make a comic. I'm like, dude, just write the comics you want to write, because this might be the last chance you ever get to do it. So wouldn't you rather just write something that you're passionate about, that you genuinely love? Because if you genuinely love it, it comes through, whether you believe it or not. Like, people are reading, like you sound like you were very complimentary about Gangsters versus Nazis. Like, it's fun. I enjoy writing it. I get to write gangsters, which I love. I get to write monsters, which are great. Like, and Big F off Worms. I get to write silly jokes, and I get to work with my buddy Totti, who I love. Like, it's amazing. And then people come up to you at shows, and then when I read that, I thought it was brilliant. I'm like, dude, that's wonderful. Here, you know, well, the next issue, buy it. You know, so you make what you want to make, and
yeah, and the genuine reality is all this is cyclical. So even if your end goal is the movie, which you have a 0.01% chance of that happening, and that's anybody, anybody in the industry, that fad is going to come back around at some point. Absolutely. Somewhere in that circle, you're going to be in the middle of that fad again, where that thing you created is what everybody wants, and you're already there.
My way of looking at comics changed about 5 or 6 years ago, because like I always wanted to work for Marvel, always wanted to work for DC. It never happened. I'm not bitter about it. That's fine. That's, you know, you let the chips fall where they may. You know, from my point of view, all I want to do is tell the stories that I want to tell, and I've committed to a body of work. So yeah. if big, massive, you know, one in a million chance, if someone does see who I am and my work, then go, oh, he's done a lot. Oh, he's done these different genres. Let's give him a go. That kind of thing. Like a lot of it is being in the right place at the right time. It's not what you know; it's who you know. And if you've got a body of work behind you, you've got more chance with someone than someone that's not. That's my, you know.
Luck is preparation plus opportunity. I think that's the old saying.
Yeah, perspiration and, you know, preparation and stuff. And that's it, you know, like I'm 15, 16 years in. I've done 30 single issues, you know, that I've self-published. The majority of them I self-funded myself, you know, and I'm very lucky that I've kind of built a Kickstarter audience now to help me. Because having a family, I just can't afford to do it by myself anymore. So I've got the supporters to do that, which I'm eternally grateful for. And, you know, I'll keep going as long as I can afford it, and as long as I've got stories to tell. The only frustrating thing is I've got so many bloody stories, I can't afford to make them. That's you know, I've got like stories that I just like, oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Oh, I've got to wait to. And ironically, a lot of these stories, like I'll write them and they'll sit in a shelf, and then something will come out that's similar. I'm like, for God's sake! Just because, like you said, like you're ahead of the curve, like because you do something, and it, you know, if people are watching this and like they want to make comics, dude, it takes years. Like sometimes it takes years to get a book to, you know, printed. So just do it now, because like, you know, if you don't, you will regret it. And if something comes out similar, you'll be like, I should have took my shot and just done it. Because yeah, it's annoying when that happens.
And you said earlier you've got books that you're working on now that are years ahead. The timeline. What's kind of the rest of the year look like for you? Do you have everything kind of lined up for the year? Is what you're doing?
So we've got Night Movers on Kickstarter right now. That's a big one, because that's the first time I'm using Kickstarter to fund the majority of the art. Because normally when I run a Kickstarter, the comic's complete. So this has been a big risk. And even though we've hit funding, we've still not covered the art costs. So depending on how much we make is depending on how much I lose is probably the best way to describe that one. So that one's coming out. Hopefully that'll be out in the summer. I've got David Cousins is working on Chances Art issue 2, which has been a long time coming because he's been a busy boy doing some stuff at Dynamite. He did some Thundercat stuff for them, did a lot of Terminator covers. Martin's going to be doing the Skim issue 2, hopefully, so we'll get that out before the end of the year. Jarvis is working on Hammer to Hell issue 5. Andrea's working on Gangsters vs. Nazis issue 4. I've got a new book, which is my kind of take on an Iron Man type story with my mate Phil Buckingham. He's nearly finished the first issue of that. So yeah, I'm probably forgetting about 3 or 4 of them. But yeah, there's books there. There's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, and I'm writing like a Star Trek type of horror comic that I want to do. Oh. Yeah, which is, again, it's going to be like a 70, 80 page one and done story. I think I've never watched Star Trek. Like people always say to me, like, you know, you Star Wars or Star Trek, and I'm always like, Spaceballs and Galaxy Quest. Like they're my go-to like things. Like I've watched like the J.J. Abrams Star Treks and stuff like that. So I've never really watched the series or the films, but I've got an idea and I'm halfway through writing that. I've got a Christmas horror I want to write set in Santa's workshop, which is quite funny. I've got what else am I writing? I've got a couple of horror ones that I want to write. So yeah, there's loads of ideas there. It's just time and resources, unfortunately, you know, to do it. So I'm really annoyed because as soon as I finish the script, I'm like, yeah, I'm making it. And then then you're committing to, like, put it this way, like, every time, it's annoying. Every time I get a new idea, I know it's going to cost me at least 10 grand to make it. Because you think you've got to commit to, like, how many issues. I'm like, okay, so just give myself 10 grand's worth of debt. Okay, brilliant. Well done.
Yeah, I was just talking to an independent local creator, and he was telling me that, I don't get this. Like, I'm profitable. And he started to give me the numbers, and I'm like, you've maybe made 4 grand off. Like, I'm talking gross. I'm like, there's no way, dude. There's no way you're profitable.
I've never made a penny. Like, again, because apart from Night Movers, again, I never launch a Kickstarter until I've made the comic. So I've paid for the art out of my own pocket. I've paid for the colours if I've used the colourist. I've lettered it myself. Every time I've done the Kickstarter, it's never covered those costs. But what I do is when I do a Kickstarter, like I'll get myself like 100 or 200 copies printed as well within that cost, and then I'll spend like the next year on stuff trying to scrape back the rest of my costs. Like I've never made a penny. The only thing I made is when I did my making comics book last year, because I wrote that and that was just me. I made a couple of after the print runs and stuff like that, and the ones that went missing, which were great because it was a massive book and cost a lot of money to replace on some of them. I bought a slab copy of Daredevil issue 2. That was my treat. That was like $150. I was like, yeah, what? That's all I've made. And I think on the last ever Kickstarter I do, on the last ever comic that I do, hopefully I'll make money, or I'll have paid for everything and whatever I make back, and I'll buy myself a copy of Daredevil issue 1, like the 1960 copy. Like that's it. That's my only goal. It's like making comic. I just want to cover my costs, but on that last one, I'll hopefully pay for a Daredevil issue 1. That's the dream.
I mean, and so you've got the Kickstarter going right now for Night Movers. Give us a quick pitch as we're kind of closing up. What is Night Movers all about?
So it's a strange one because I don't want to go into too much detail of like how I came up with the idea, but again, because I'm such an idiot, whenever I finish writing something, I need to make it. So I saw a random Instagram post from like an advertisement one of like, did we teach you about the dark side of this industry, or like I saw one about Japanese subcultures. Don't know why. It just popped up in my news in my timeline. I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting concept." And then I came up with the idea of like a woman from the UK living in Japan. She's been there for a couple of years. She's with a Japanese boyfriend, and then one day he just goes missing. Don't know how. Don't know why. So it's all about her being, even though she's been there for a couple of years, she's still very much an outsider. So she's trying to find the man that she loves. And the question is, like, how far would you go to find that person that you love? So it's all about her going into like the underground, would probably of Japanese subcultures to find what happened or where is her boyfriend. And yeah, so it's a one and done thriller. Very like if you grew up watching like films in the 90s, there was a lot of thrillers, of like these kind of things where or even like recently like Girl on a Train and stuff like that. Just strange little thrillers that like, oh, interesting. But I've got an ending. I basically had two endings. I had one that was a bit, that's a bit gory and horrible, or I had one that was a bit more of a gut punch. And I put it out like to my social media, like, which one should I write? I didn't obviously tell the endings, and they went, just do the one that you think will go best. So I did the gut punch ending, and it's going to be like one of those endings where you read it and you're like, oh, why did they do that? Why would you? And kind of stays with you. It's gonna be one of those. It's like, because like, how far would you go for love? Like, it's. Yeah, like when you watch a film, like why are they going into that room? Why are they doing that? And
is it gonna be one of those where I have to message you after and be like, Matt, you okay? Like everything good?
And it's not it's without a spoiler. You can be like, I wouldn't have done that. Like if you were in that position, like I wouldn't have done that. That kind of thing. And then something happens, and you're like, oh come on. That's not so. There's an ending. Is the only way to see it. Like, and people will be. You'll either love the ending or you won't like the ending. But either way, you would have had an experience. That's what I try and do. I want people to put wherever I'm making you laugh, I'm making you cry, making you angry. Like if you've read like books like like Hammer to Hell. Like I try and put the emotion on the page. Where like the first Hammer to Hell is like it's like rage. Then there's like remorse in an like it's very. I try and manipulate my readers as much as I can because I'm like a puppet master and I hate you all. Yeah.
Well, you want some sort of emotion. And I got to say to everybody out there, I mean, if you back the physical edition, the physicals are always great by you, Matt, so people should definitely do that. But if you're a digital reader, I'm going to tell you about the greatest deal in all of comics. Not indie comics, all of comics. And that's Matt's ultimate digital package. 30 comics for $20. Including Night Movers, the new issue.
And well, that's the thing. I had to put it up because I used to do it for like $12, but they were all like single issues. But because this is like a 70-page comic, I'm like, I can't just throw it in. I've got like up it a little bit, so it's like it's really annoying. So like, yeah, it's gone up, but again, it's sold really well. So it's all my entire back catalogue. You know, you get all the books, you get all the variants. So like, you know, for some books we've done like black and white versions, stuff like you get everything, and yeah, so. There's again, I want people to, when they back my Kickstarters, I want there to be value.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to like the comics, obviously, but even if they don't like the comics and go, well, do you know what? There was a lot there. You know.
Yeah.
But
and I'll vouch as a constant backer of yours. It's value. The books are always quality. I enjoy what you are writing, so I cannot recommend enough backing a Matt Garvey comic, everybody.
Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you very much, sir. You're very honest.
Matt is way I kind of always end these. Do you want people to follow you online? If so, where? On social media, website? Where do you want people to follow you?
If you put Matt Garvey comics into any kind of social media or website, you'll find me. There's two Matt Garveys out there. One's a rugby player. And there's me. And I'm not the rugby player, is probably the best way to say it. Ironically, the rugby players blocked me on all social media because obviously people are reaching out to him and going, oh, like I met you at a Comic-Con and stuff like that. And he's like just got fed up with people getting us confused. But on the flip side, I've had people that have been fans of his reach out to me. And I've been like, oh, you're so nice. Like he's got the best fans. Like I've always been super nice to them. But yeah, he's just blocked me. So yeah, that Matt Garvey's a prick.
So don't look up that Matt Garvey. But everybody, check the show notes down below. I'll have a link to Night Movers and some of Matt's social media, so you can definitely check all that out. You should definitely be backing that project and following Matt everywhere, so you know what he's got going on, because he'll always have a new project for you to back.
That's me. It's been a pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much for having me. Like you're a gentleman as always. So I appreciate you taking the time and for your audience to listen to me ramble for an hour. Sorry.
And listen, I love chatting with you. I love the books. So best of luck with everything moving forward, and hopefully we can get you that point. So you just keep making them for me, just for me, nobody else.
Just for you, no one else. I'm writing them for me, but I'm making them for you.